welcome to the EmpowerHer series. I'm your host, Jessica Jane. This series is all about real women, real stories, and real growth. Our stories have power, and when we share them, we remind others that they're never alone. Get ready to be inspired. This is EmpowerHer.
Hello, Lisa, and welcome to the fifth episode of Empower Her. I am super excited to have you on. Obviously, I already know you and I know a lot about your story, and I've been watching you with pure awe and inspiration because you are just a phenomenal woman. We both run the same online health and wellness business, and I've seen what you've been through, the resilience you've had, how you've built your business alongside health struggles as well. So I'm super excited for you to share your journey and give some top tips to our viewers because I know they'll just take so much from you.
That's very
Um,
kind.
so before we start, I just want you to kind of give a quick introduction of yourself because some people obviously won't know you yet. So just introduce yourself, a little bit about what you do.
Sure. Hi. Thank you very much, Jess. That was a lovely introduction. It makes me blush straight away.
Oh.
My name is Lisa. I'm 42 years old. I live in Exmouth in Devon. I am a two times liver transplant recipient due to autoimmune disease, a wife, a dog mum. I love walking the beach and cooking and all those wonderful things, but I spend a lot of my time within my health and wellness business, but also working with charities to raise awareness for rare diseases, women living with rare disease, how they navigate that kind of space, something which invisible illnesses, the amount of times that we hear, oh, but you don't look sick, like how do you navigate just even that question alone to still being able to live as much as a normal life or a new normal life as possible, and just helping others see that life can still carry on even with quite a heavy diagnosis and an unknown prognosis.
I completely resonate with that actually. I like what you've just said there because even I've not had something as severe as you, but I used to suffer really bad with chronic pain flare-ups, and they would
Mm,
when they would be bad, and could be from one day to the next, they would flare up, and I could not put one foot in front of the other. I was in
yeah.
absolutely excruciating pain. I just couldn't move for weeks. But especially around work back then as well, what was really hard was calling in sick, and they'll be like, "Well, you were fine yesterday." And it's like,
Yeah.
well, I'm not today. And nobody would ever believe that from one day to the other, I couldn't move anymore.
Yeah,
So
it's
I love that you
crazy.
just
So
highlighted that.
debilitating. Yeah, and these things can be debilitating, whether it's fatigue, whether it's pain, like you've dealt with, and chronic does, should straight away tell people this is a long-term thing that's happening, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's at the same level day to day. So we
Mm.
can have days where we wake up and actually, this is a good day. I'm going to get as much done today as I possibly can, and I'm going to, prioritize my time and just do as much as I can because I don't know when my next good day is going to be. And I think it's really important for people, for women to be able to look at, what is sent to try us, but to work with it as best we can. Because if we can't change it, then we're going to have to work with it and we're going to have to manage it. And it doesn't mean that we've got to, change our goals. It doesn't mean that our dreams should be any different. It just means they may take a different route to get there. And it's, it's still we're still able to do everything we want to do. It just like the journey is not going to be linear, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So can you go a bit more into your background and your health issues? Kind of go a little bit deeper into that and what's led you to the work that you do now?
Yeah, sure. So I was diagnosed back in 2020, March, actually, just as we were going into the first lockdown. I was sat in a hospital. I didn't know what was about to hit me, and sadly, neither did that hospital. And suddenly, I hear the words that I've been diagnosed with this autoimmune disease. At that point in time, I was like, okay, I can handle this. My mum has exactly the same. I know that she takes a medication, that she's well stabilized. She has been for nearly 30 years. So if I've just got to take the same magic tablet and everything will just continue as normal for me, then that's fine. But that course wasn't laid out for me. And my journey with exactly the same autoimmune disease as my mum has been polar opposites, literally. So from the diagnosis, I was prescribed some medication, and then with that medication, it was a case of monitor, watch, and see what happens. And what was happening in my body is that my immune system was seeing the bile ducts within the liver as what they would call foreign. So my body was seeing it, thinking, you're not supposed to be here, so we're going to close you down. And once those bile ducts within the liver are closed down, your liver goes into liver failure, which of course isn't ideal. So they couldn't get control of the disease that I had. And it's likely that I had it for a long time before that. We just didn't know. And because it's not known as a hereditary disease, the family weren't checked for it. But I do run a lot of support groups, and most of the women within those support groups have got an auntie, a grandma, or a mum who has got the same autoimmune. So although it's not written on a scientific clinical paper, we kind of know that it is a hereditary disease. It very quickly came to fruition that, geez, like they mentioned the word liver transplant to me, I think, within 8 months of my diagnosis. And I was like, excuse me? Like, what do you mean I'm going to need a liver transplant? Like, well, how can my mum be absolutely fine and I have the same thing and I'm not? So it was a lot to get my head around in that time, whilst the world was kind of felt like going crazy and slowly stopping around me. And they said, oh, it probably won't be for a few years, but even that sped up really quickly. And the diagnosis went to my first transplant. So I was diagnosed in the March of 2020, and I had my first transplant by October 21, listed only a few months before that for organ donation. So once that had happened, once the first transplant and the recovery from an organ transplant, it's one of the biggest surgeries that you can go through, particularly for one of the organs which can't be kept alive by a machine as such. Once that had gone ahead and I was living through this recovery, I straight away thought, right, okay, so that's done. I've had that line of treatment, everything's going to be okay. Even though I'd had the forewarning that it's an autoimmune disease, once the damaged liver is removed, I still have the same disease. And unfortunately, very quickly, that disease woke back up again. So the transplant doesn't stop the disease, it doesn't cure the disease, it does dampen it and puts it to sleep, but it doesn't necessarily stop it from recurring. And my disease recurred very quickly, and that led to a second liver transplant, which happened on Christmas Day in 2024. So quite recently. In that time, I started looking around for other people in the similar position as me, not because I wanted to find other people in a similar position as me, but because I knew there would be people out there who were going through the same thing that I was going through at that severity and that speed. And I couldn't find many. So before I even had my first transplant, I started sharing on social media pages what I was going through, what was happening at my appointments, what a day in a hospital looked like for somebody with an autoimmune disease that was having something as big as a liver transplant discussed with them. And before long, people started coming out of the woodworks, and they'd had this disease for many years, or they'd just been diagnosed, or they'd just been told they were going to be going onto the transplant list, but they didn't know how to share it. They didn't know how to talk about it because of the stigma that comes with a liver disease. So that's where I find myself now, is in that support space of really being with women, and men, but majority of people who are affected by this disease are women. So, and trying to help them, empower them to speak about what they're going through, and for us all to educate, create awareness and educate on the stigma that surrounds a liver disease.
Hmm. I love that you really are creating that community to bring people together and give that extra support, because it's such a scary thing any health issue is such a scary thing to go through, and especially if you feel alone in it as well.
Yeah.
Um, and obviously to bring people together, and especially with, like, I know for you, the kind of mindset that you've got as well, and the kind of mindset coaching we've had within our business, we're very lucky to already have such a great community and support in that way. So to be able to put those tools into place and give back to others is amazing.
Yeah.
So there, obviously, it's a very scary challenge to have to face. And do you feel like that experience has changed your outlook on life? Has there been like a turning point where it's really changed your outlook?
Absolutely. And by working with other people, it's enabled me to see how I see life. And I find when you have anything heavy, whatever that may be, and there's no comparing for any of these kind of things, everyone has their hard to deal with, right? And I think it's how you get your head around your hard really determines what the future is going to look like for you. There's things you can't control. There's things that are way out of my control. My disease wasn't a cause of my own. I didn't bring it, I didn't speed it up. I didn't make it worse. I didn't start it in the first place. It's just happened to me.
Mm.
And I truly believe that people who have hard things sent to them are the ones that can handle it and then have a message to talk about thereafter to help others who may not be able to handle it just as well. And it is a learning curve. And you can sit in blood queues like I do on a very regular basis, and you can see different people, and you can see the people who are, this has happened to me, so I'm going to go insular and I'm going to be very negative. I'm going to look at Dr. Google and I'm going to see everything that's going to go wrong with me. Or you can go the other way and you can be the person who is, this isn't going to beat me. I'm going to fight this. It's something that I have to live with. It doesn't determine who I am. And for me, it's really important to reach out to both types of people and just say, you have got people around you who can help you. And let's talk about what's going on and why your thought process is the way it is. Because if there's one thing you can change, and it's changing your mindset to a positive mindset, rather than thinking that you're the only one, and surrounding yourself with people who understand, are going through the same but different journey, then suddenly it gets lighter. And when things get lighter, they become easier. And when they become easier, you're more willing to talk about them. And then you'll find someone else who's going through something else heavy, and you've probably known them for 10 years and didn't realize that fact about them. But because you've become lighter and more open and more positive, they've then entrusted something in you. And before you know it, it has this real crescendo effect where people do start opening up and talking about things that maybe they're ashamed of, or they don't understand fully themselves, or that are really deep and really painful for them. But if they become lighter for one person and you start talking about them, it becomes lighter for many.
Definitely. And I think it is turning that pain into purpose, isn't it? Um,
Definitely.
and it's a shame that most things like this come from a story of such trauma and pain. But at the same time, I think that's where some of the most amazing stories and transformations actually do come from. And
Yeah.
they do give you that growth, doesn't it? And
100%. If what hasn't happened to me this far throughout my medical history, if you like, I probably wouldn't be half the person I was today. Going through that growth process, having to survive, having to have difficult conversations, face up to difficult decisions, and realize that it would be someone else's selfishness that could save my own life. If I hadn't experienced any of that, and that gratitude that comes with the work of, medical teams or friends that are just there to support you and, make you a cup of tea when you just can't move, or, whatever it may be. If you don't experience that gratitude at such a high level, then I really don't think your mind has been opened enough to what the world can actually do for you, what you can do for yourself, because we can all do it. It's there for all of us. We've all got it within ourselves, but something needs to unlock. And like you say, it's sad that it does tend to come from some level of trauma. But if you can spin that and turn that into a good thing and really work with it into your future, then, yes, you've had a horrifically bad experience and that may be ongoing, but you've also taken it and you've turned it into something really good and really powerful.
Yeah, definitely. And I think obviously I know you through our online health and wellness business, but I don't really know much about your background with regards to what led you to step into this business, how long you've been in the business. Was it actually to do with your own health journey that made you want to kind of shift into this kind of work?
Yeah, absolutely. I was never into anything to do with health and wellness prior, and that doesn't make me an unhealthy person. I just did what I had to do on a daily basis, look after myself on a daily basis, but other things were my priority. But when you do get a health diagnosis and you realize there's things that you can fine tune and there's things that you can level up, you're at that point where you're like, right, okay, I've never really thought about this. I've been as healthy, as I can be. I've done exercise, I'd have like the odd night out and whatever else, but it's the same as any normal person, right? And it's not until something really hits you, and even though your choices can't change what's happened and they haven't caused it, they can enable you to arm yourself with the tools that you need, whether that be physically or mentally, to get you through the hardest of days. And it was when I was becoming poorly and my chronic fatigue was really high, a really high pain point for me, that I started looking for things that could help me. And this is when I stumbled across, the health and wellness business that we're both in. And then when I started to deep dive into that further, and I thought, good, there's so much to gain from this. It's not just about, what we fuel our bodies with, but it's what we fuel our mind with as well, and the people that we surround ourselves with. And if you have a group of people who are focusing on health and wellness, then you know that it's a pretty good space to be sat in, because they're trying to do the same as you for whatever reason that may be.
Yeah, definitely. And I love that we teach that, and that is what we stand for, is it's that whole package of everything that comes together, as
Oh,
in like your mindset, your health, what you're putting in, what you're putting on your skin, what you're putting inside
yeah.
your body, your just the community of people that we surround ourselves by, like literally everything as a package, to help people rise and thrive in all areas of life, which
Yeah.
is such a lovely thing to be a part of, isn't it?
Oh, it really is. It really is. And I think if you can look aside, from what having your own business can get you. So before my diagnosis, I'm in corporate in my full-time day job, if you like, and it's very, highly driven, ambitious people who, and if we look at the corporate ladder, people are stepping on people just to get to the top, because unless somebody who is in a more senior position than you leaves the company or something worse, you're not moving. You're staying where you are. And that can really become a dog eat dog industry to be in. And, it's, I always thought that was it. This is what I'm trained to do. This is what I know. This is where my skill set is. So this is it. And then suddenly I find myself in what feels like a polar opposite world while still doing this. But I now look at this totally differently. And I take the skills I've got from my health and wellness business and being with other women and, looking at resilience and empowering other people. And suddenly over here, my corporate job has completely changed as well. And I feel much easier in that space. And it doesn't feel so dog eat dog anymore. It just feel like another space that can be empowering, just in a different way.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And it is. And I think because it does transform you as a person as well, like normal businesses don't in general, or jobs don't in general.
Yeah.
But this is a personal growth business too. So it really helps you to step into that next level you too as well, doesn't it? Which obviously brings everything else around you in such a better space.
Yeah, it just aligns everything. It really does. And I think we often say that our businesses are, a self-development company with products attached. And that self-development in the community really is, for me, what keeps me here. And it's like, this is the bit that I never want to be without, because it fires my soul, literally fires my soul. And but I get to speak to gorgeous people like you all the time. So, what better?
That's it. And that's where I originally, where you truly started to inspire me actually, was seeing you go through your health struggles and your liver transplant this second time round, seeing you share your story of you in a hospital bed, still building your online business, and just what you've achieved with that as well, with regards to um, you've promoted it in the business at a struggling time whilst going through that. Um, we obviously have our amazing incentive trips from the company. So you went the
Yeah.
Dubai trip through whilst going through such a health journey as well. So that's just such an inspiration, and really shows people what, when you put your mind to something, what you can achieve, whatever you're going through at that time. But just sharing with people, do you have any tips on that with regards to like what your mindset shifts were, what helped you keep more like grounded and hopeful during that time?
Yeah, sure. For me, it was really about focus. And sorry about that. The door went, so the dogs were protecting me, of course. So for me, it was all about focus, and it was giving myself, going through such a difficult time. Like you said, it was my second liver transplant. I'd already started my health and wellness business by this point. I was still working day to day, and I was like, right, okay, I've got this massive thing ahead of me. I'm about to have my second life-saving surgery, and I can either be here in hospital and I can give in to what's about to happen, and I can restart once it's done if everything goes successfully, or I can, bring that forward and start everything now and start preparing for once that time is finished. And it was up to me to kind of decide which route I took. And I decided to take the route which was going to literally push me out of every single comfort zone. But it gave me so much. So even when, the doctors, the nurses would be coming into my room and, they'd be saying, you're going onto the urgent list and we've now got this infection which we need to, get over before we can list you. And we need to check this through the assessment. There were so many different things that were constantly going on. But if I didn't have my health and wellness business and something to really focus on, which was going to push me through to the future, I think I would have been in a very different headspace. And what that enabled me to do at the time as well is continue to stay within my community. My community were always going to surround me and be there for me. The support network was amazing through the business, through the people I've met who were going through something similar, whether they were ahead, or they hadn't got to that stage yet. For me, it was a case of, right, if I don't do something in this really difficult period of time, I'm going to recluse myself and I'm going to stop communicating with people. Whereas if I make sure that I carry on doing what I can, and not every day it was possible to do anything, for 5 days of that was in intensive care. So I didn't even know what my name was. So, there were days when you can't do anything, and that's quite obvious. And there are days when you can do a little, and there are days when you can do a lot. But just by giving myself that bit of purpose each day, that bit of focus and that communication with the outside world, that enabled me to push through. And then when I got to the other side and I was starting to come out where I was more at home, my recovery was starting to move forward. That at that point, I was so grateful for the work I'd put in over that 2, 3, 4 month period that, I could look back at my previous self and go, good on you, like, and be really proud of the really hard, crappy thing I'd just been through again. And it wasn't over yet. But yeah, I decided to plow my energy that I had rather than worrying and what if, and taking a negative bias, putting it into a positive bias and pushing forward and enabling me to get to a place afterwards where I could be like, I've created this, like I've done this. And I still look back at that time and I think I can't even believe I did that. I can't believe I did all of that. But I did, and I did what I could. And that resulted in something, and that's the important bit.
I love your mindset around that. And it really shows, doesn't it, when you've got something to focus on and it gives you that drive, it stops you from giving up because you're
Yes.
focusing forward rather than putting yourself in that position of where you are now and feeling in that negative space around it all. So I love that you managed to set your mind strong in that place and just keep moving forward. And what you've achieved by doing that as well is just absolutely amazing. And I'm always in awe with you when I watch you. One of our recent trainings that you wasn't there at, but you trained at our leadership academy. As soon as you came on the screen and delivered your training, I was just like, wow, what
Oh,
a beautiful, inspirational, amazing woman. And just the way you delivered yourself and spoke and everything as well, you just touched everybody's heart in that room.
that's very
Um,
kind. That's
so
very kind.
yeah,
It was a shame, it was a shame I couldn't be there in person, but I appreciate your words. So thank you so much.
bless you. So with regards to your story around that as well, is obviously there's probably many women watching this that are in that space at the moment where they're struggling with something where they haven't got any control over, but they're in that space where they can't find the strength or direction. Is there any kind of tips or kind of words of wisdom that you would give to those women?
Yeah, I think to we often have days where we think, right, I can do everything today, so I'm going to go and do everything. And sometimes you need to take a step back from the everything. And we might know to achieve this, we need to do this, 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 and this. But sometimes we really need to focus on 1 or 2 blocks rather than 5. And if you can really perfect those 1 or 2 blocks, whatever they may be, those other 3 are going to become easier. So let me break that down further. So say one of our blocks that we need to work on for us to enable something else to go forward in our business, in our life, in our day to day, whatever it may be, it is self-development. But if we only go and do a small amount of self-development and then a small amount of this and then a small amount of this, we may never get into the momentum that we need for any traction to come from any of those different blocks.
Mm.
Whereas if we really take the time to focus on one area and really get it to a point where we're comfortable with it, it doesn't feel like each time we visit it, we're starting again. And we become not perfect at that task, but we certainly become better at it and it becomes part of the day to day, then you are going to naturally, when you start doing any task that you have become well practiced at, you're going to go straight in at a level which is suddenly going to start serving you.
Mm.
So, for example, we could spend 10 minutes looking for a podcast to listen to. Whereas if we spend a bit of extra time finding out which podcasts, which books are going to serve us, and then we have them ready to go, then the next day that we want to go and listen to some self-development or tune into something whilst we're walking the dog or whatever it may be, then we know exactly what we're looking for, where we're going to find it, and it's sat in the library. And then you're not starting a podcast and thinking, oh no, this isn't the one for me today.
Mm.
Then you know what I mean? So if you find that one thing that you need to do, whatever it may be, and it's going to be different for everybody, and you perfect it, spend some more time on it, then when you revisit it every single day, you are going to find it much easier and you're going to go straight into the zone of where you need to be rather than wasting half the time you've got, blocked
Mm.
out for it.
Yeah, definitely. That's amazing advice and so true because I think one, we're all like, there's so much to fit in a day anyway. So
Yeah,
taking that extra time to just, I feel like that preparation side of things is just super key, isn't it? To prepare yourself
yeah,
properly first, and then everything else flows. But also, like how you've just kind of said, tune into yourself of like, don't just follow everybody else. What do you need? Like,
yeah.
what is it that you need to learn? What is it that you're getting through? What do you need to work on? Is it your more self-love, self-worth, your mindset, more positivity? And find the right things that are going to suit you for those moments because
Exactly.
we're
It's
not all the
personal.
same. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so personal. And what serves you today may not serve you tomorrow.
Mhm.
And you need to have a little, a little library of whatever it may be, of things that you go to do, which, you can quickly switch and change from if they're not serving you in that day. It's like when you read a book, and sometimes you read that book and it's just not there and you're not listening to it and you're having to reread chapters. Put the book
Mm.
down. That doesn't mean never come back to it because you might need that book in 6 months' time. You might just be more aligned with you at that point.
Yeah.
But now, right here, right now, you're just not ready for it. And that's okay. And I think the same of when we see motivational speakers, one will speak to you today, but they may not speak to you in 6 months. And that's because what you're ready to receive is going to be different depending on what's going on in your life at that point of time.
Mm.
So if something isn't speaking to you, just place it down and find the thing that is. And
Yeah.
that's going to be what delivers the best.
Yeah. And that's just made me think of things like as well actually that where I've been through it and you'll know this as well, that you can listen to the same trainings, listen to the same people talk on the same topics. And sometimes you end up thinking, oh, well, I've already listened to their training. I don't need to listen to it again. I know what they're going to say. But each time I have re-listened, I take something different from it. And it makes
Absolutely.
you realize that you're in a different moment in those times and it's giving you something for what you need at that time. So it's so worth
100%.
like revisiting things as well.
Yeah, it's like those little different light bulbs that go off, isn't it? That you
Yeah.
see different things. It's like when you rewatch a film, you'll hear a different message
Hmm.
because you've grown in that time from watching it the first time to the second. So I
Yeah.
think it's really important to understand you before you start, looking for things to help you. You need to really understand yourself, and that is, where do I need to grow? What are my priorities this week, this month, whatever it may be, and what's going to serve that? And then, not necessarily following what everybody else is doing, but what's going to serve you.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So what do you hope people take away from hearing your story?
I think I think for me, the main thing is there's always someone out there going through something similar. And for every time you share something, it is a very selfless thing to do. But what will happen naturally in return is you will hear stories and connections of other people who are going through the same as you. And you will end up being connected to somebody who you never would have met without having that initial conversation. And they can end up being your soul sister who, might have a completely different journey to you, but has the same thoughts and feelings about around that journey. I think empowering other people to talk and to share is really important in that it enables everybody to see that they have the same skills as everybody else, but they have them in different ways. And what they use them for is down to them and their choice. And it can really serve back to what they need. So you can be doing things for others, and in return, that's going to serve back to you to continue growing your confidence, to enable you to feel less alone, and to make you feel fully equipped for what may be ahead. And if there's anything out there that I think has changed, if there's one thing that I could recommend that has changed everything for me, it's by fully educating myself on what is happening in my life, in every area of my life. So my finances, my family, my health, my job, my career, my business, fully educating myself on things that may not even impact me today, but enables me to help other people find what's impactful for them as well. And again, that in turn comes back to your own self-growth, your own confidence, and your own community that surrounds you and will be there for you in your hardest days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And I think that's a big thing in life now, isn't it? That life is so fast-paced and everything's so readily available that we miss so much of what we need and what we actually want, and if we're
Yeah.
actually happy or not. So it's really important to tune into, or like you just said, all those different areas of life and what it means to you and where you're at with it, and maybe how you want to move forward, and be around that, like say, the community of the people that you want to kind of be reflected on. Like, how do you want to grow? What kind of people do you want to surround yourself by as well? So yeah, I love all that, and that's just everything that you're saying as well is just some great tips that I think so many people will take so much from, because they're great life skills to have that not many people actually get taught. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Crazy.
yeah, definitely. So
Yeah.
obviously the life you've built now and the life you're creating, and it's very much based around health and wellness, self-belief, purpose, helping and empowering people along the way. So what do you feel like that actually looks like for you now in your life, and what's next on your journey?
I think one of the things that people cling on to, and I've done the same, this isn't a bad thing, this is a natural human instinct, is when you make a friend, that's your friend for life. And I think you actually need to let friends come and go, because friends will change. They're in different life spaces and I'm in different life spaces. And I think the friends that you gravitate to at different ages of your life, you gravitate to them for a reason. And that's because you are aligned in something. And it's actually okay to step away from people at different points in your life if you're not serving each other, if your interests are no longer the same. It's actually okay to say, right, I'm going to see you a bit less because our interests aren't aligned. But then what magically normally happens is a lot of self-growth happens, and you end to gravitate back towards each other because there's more than just something, a common interest that you've got in mind. There's something else which created the friendship in the first place. So I think the main thing is just to allow yourself to be you at any point. Never try to be anybody else. We're all our own one person, and that's our superpower. And really embrace who you are, because the right people will turn up at the right time, and they're the ones that are aligned for you. And just, go out there and go for the big goals, go for the big dreams, no matter what your hurdles are, because you can achieve them. It may look different if you did them today, tomorrow, and 10 years' time. How you achieve them will look different, but the result's the same. And asking for help is never a bad thing.
Hmm. I think so many people need to hear that, because so many of us do just try to fit in, people please, think that we have to be a certain way to be good enough. So I think that's a great thing to really end on there, because so many people need to hear that, to just step into their own power, be authentic to themselves, and
Yeah.
that's enough. And that's where you'll shine.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's 100% empower everyone around you. That's a wonderful thing to do, but you have to empower yourself as well. You can't empower someone else until you've empowered your own beliefs, and that's super important.
Definitely. So we're coming to the end now, Lisa. So just to finish up, the last question we always end with on Empower Her is, what does empowerment mean to you?
So empowerment, I think I probably said this a few times throughout. It really is allowing you to know and allowing other people to know that you can do anything. It's all within you. And it's just finding out you know, what lights the fire. What lights the fire for you to enable to go and do that hard thing that you want to do. And by giving somebody or yourself the space to learn how to do something, to lean into something, to feel uncomfortable about something, but then realize that that's okay as well. And it really is just by enabling you to know that you can go and do and achieve everything. It may not be easy how you get there. And anybody that you're working with, it's helping them find what their path is and then giving them not giving them the answers, but by just giving them a breadcrumb so they can figure out the answers for themselves and they can feel really proud that they've leaned into something which might be quite difficult, but actually they've suddenly found this whole new chapter about themselves that they never knew existed. And that in turn is going to go and help someone else in the same way. And they end up empowering other people too because they've learned a new skill.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Oh, you gave me goosebumps. I love that. And just such a lovely thing to end on. I am so grateful for your time today and coming on to the Empower Her
Thank you
series.
for
I
asking
was
me.
just so excited for you to share your story. And I know it's going to inspire so many women. And I'm very much looking forward to seeing the rest of your journey unfold. Thank you, Lisa.
Oh, thank you so much. You're an absolutely gorgeous woman. I adore you. Thank
Oh,
you.
thank you, Lisa. Bye.
Bye bye.